What's up guys, I'm Dean and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I thought we could start a new series together, something that we could put alongside my normal content, something that we can, do coming forward infinite number of times. If you haven't seen at the moment on my TikTok, I've been ranking every trilogy I've ever seen, and the idea of ranking trilogies was kind of interesting to me, and the idea of looking back at all these trilogies was interesting to me. Just the way I did it in the TikTok was kind of gut feeling. I wrote down all the trilogies I saw and I just ranked them, thinking, yeah, I think this one's better, I think this one's better. But that's not specific enough for me. In this series, I'm going to turn that into a science, and when I say a science, I mean a 20-point system. Basically, we're going to look at a different trilogy in every one of these videos, and we're going to rank them out of 20. Each individual film gets a score out of 5, and then the final 5 points is an overall score for the cohesion between the trilogy. Because I think when it comes to trilogies, consistency and cohesion and overarching story are very important to consider when we're ranking them. So, to start off with, I thought we should start with one of the most iconic trilogies of all time, and a trilogy that I have just finished rewatching, and that is the Kung Fu Panda trilogy. So we're going to go through every film, one by one, rate them out of 5, and then we'll give an overall score out of 5 for cohesion, and then we will put it on the leaderboard. But we won't put it on the leaderboard because it'll be the only film on the leaderboard. I'm so tired. I haven't slept, but I'm still doing this. So the first film in the series is, of course, Kung Fu Panda. Why did I say that? It's Kung Fu Panda, Kung Fu Panda 2, Kung Fu Panda 3. But I'll give a quick plot summary. Let's see how much of this film I remember. Everyone knows Kung Fu Panda. Basically, it's about a panda called Po, who's clumsy and kind of hapless, and he lives in a valley where up on the hill live the Furious Five, the greatest Kung Fu warriors ever, and he dreams of joining them, but it's never going to happen. But then the evil leopard Tai Lung threatens the valley, and Po is chosen as the dragon warrior, the one prophesied to save them all. And he trains and he struggles because he's not a kung fu fighter and he's not great at it until he gets some words of wisdom, and then he's like, yeah, I can fight, and he beats Tai Lung and he saves the day. And that's the end of the film. Spoiler alert. I like this film. I think DreamWorks are such an underrated animation studio because they really do consistently great films like this, where the premise is so simple and they're like, hey, whatever Panda does kung fu. They deliver on that really, really well. And I think the humour works, and I think the action is really great, and I think it's animated in a really interesting way. And this uses animation in a way I don't think a lot of films did back in the early 2000s. Nowadays, you get stuff like Spider-Verse and Puss in Boots 2, which understands the medium and uses that to advantage. But back then, I think this was pioneering in a lot of ways in the way they did their action and that sort of thing. I think the characters are strong. I think they don't get a lot of exploration here, but it's a 90-minute film, and it being a 90-minute film is a good thing because we love them short and sweet. All the voice cast is great. Obviously, Jack Black is phenomenal, and the voice cast is stacked. It's really solid. I think the events of this film are too simplistic. I think obviously it's 90 minutes, so there is more that could have. There's not loads more that could have been done, but I think it is a bit too, this happened, then he lives in the valley, and then he becomes the Dragon Warrior, then he fails to train, then he wins the fight, and that's the film. I think you need to put a couple more fights in there, maybe another enemy, maybe more of Tai Lung. I think you could cut stuff out of the start where he's kind of just, living a nothing life. But apart from that, it's a really solid film. It's a lot of fun, and I gave it 3.5 stars. And that's where we're starting this video. I will give you guys one guess at what the second feature film in the Kung Fu Panda trilogy is called. It's called Kung Fu Panda 2. Kung Fu Panda 2 starts off with Po and the Furious Five. He is now the Dragon Warrior. He is now an established hero in the valley, and he's protecting them, and he's doing all that sort of thing. But there's a new threat coming in. It's a scary peacock. And the peacock is an interesting villain in this series for reasons we're going to get into, and they want to destroy martial arts. They want to get rid of it, and they have a big, powerful weapon that they're going to use to destroy it. And they have to go and fight the peacock, and they find out the peacock killed all the pandas. They killed all the pandas, and Po finds out he's adopted, which he didn't realise when, his dad's a small bird. And then he fights the peacock, and he learns how to... He learns Ki, and he defeats him, and yay, that's the end of the film. Spoiler alert. I need to go to sleep. This film is so good. I think it realises what really worked about the first film, and it just capitalises on that. The action is phenomenal. Once again, I think they just lean into this more stylised action style. Stylized action style. They lean into it even more here, and I think that works phenomenally. I think it's so much fun. The villain is intimidating, the best villain in the trilogy. I think the connection to Poe's backstory is really great, and the way they kind of tell and they show the flashbacks, I think, is really beautiful. And what really works here is that this villain is challenging kung fu itself. It's not someone Poe can beat in a fight. I think that adds an extra element here, and the finale is just so dang good. Yeah, this film is really solid, and I think it's kind of like a late origin story, because it's kind of like, oh, this is where you came from, Poe, and this is why you're doing kung fu. And I love a late origin story, and I think it really ties into the first film well. I think it's complementary to that, and it doesn't rely too much on it. I think it's a great mix. I gave this film 4 stars, which brings Kung Fu Panda's score up to 7. The third feature film in the Kung Fu Panda trilogy is called, let me just check my notes, Kung Fu Panda 3. And Kung Fu Panda 3 is a lot of fun, and I'd never seen it before until this week, believe it or not. This film basically tells the story of Kai, who is an old friend of Master Oogway, escaped the spirit realm, land on Earth, if these films take place on Earth, surely, and collect all these Kung Fu spirits just to make himself stronger and stronger, to go after the Dragon Warrior and defeat Poe. Meanwhile, Poe discovers that his family weren't killed by evil Peacock Man, I can't remember the name of, that you guys are going to tell me in the comments, I'm sure. And he goes and he goes back and visits his family to learn chi, and to learn who he truly is, so he can defeat this villain. And his dad keeps him there, and his dad's like, oh, I didn't tell you because blah blah blah, I kept you here because I was scared I was going to lose you again. And Poe's like, no, that's not all right. And then he trains the entire village of clumsy pandas to fight, and together they take on Kai, and they win. And Poe goes into the spirit realm and just has an awesome fight. Once again, let's get into my review. It is so stylized, the action, and it's so much fun, and it is so strong, and it is so well done. This is a beautiful film, and I think all that stuff is done really well. I think this also kind of feels like a late origin story, because it's like, oh, pandas have always been good at kung fu, believe it or not, and blah blah blah, and this is your dad, and blah blah blah. And the late origin story, great. I think when done well, like Spider-Man No Way Home, they are phenomenal. And I think here is another great example of that. I think it really ties into the other 2 films nicely, and I think it all these films are structured the same way. Poe has to learn a new skill, and to learn this skill he has to discover more about himself. Where in the first film I think that element's the weakest, but because it was so simplified. But here he learns, oh, everyone just has to be themselves, and I should stop trying to be all these other people and be myself. And that's a great message, obviously. The villain's fine. It's J.K. Simmons, which is always fun, but there's not much personality to it. It's kind of just like an unstoppable force moving throughout the film towards Poe, and then Poe has to stop that force at the end, which works. I do think the villain is the weaker part of this film, though, because the family stuff is great, the emotion is great, the action is phenomenal. I also gave this film 4 out of 5, which brings their score up to 11.5 out of 15. Now, for the cohesion, this trilogy is great. It really tells one solid story well. I mean, it's not one solid story, and that's fine. It tells 3 separate stories which all tie into each other and weave in and out of each other and explain missing parts from before and after, and I think that is so great. I feel like you could do more with the other characters and have them progress over the course of the films, because the stuff Poe learns in the first film don't massively impact the second film, if that makes sense, because in the second film he's still kind of clumsy and all over the place, and that would be my one complaint. But cohesion, I think overall is really solid, so I'll give that a 4.5, which overall brings us to a 15.5 out of 20. Is that a good score? Who knows? This is the first trilogy we've done. But thanks for watching. Kung Fu Panda's great. Comment down below what trilogy I should review next, and I'll review it, I'll watch all of them, and then I'll put it on the leaderboard with Kung Fu Panda, who's currently on a 15.5. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.